It is the Jesse Kelly Show, and it is an Ask Dr. Jesse Friday. But remember, you can email the show during the show, jesse@jessekellyshow.com, jesse@jessekellyshow.com. We got a whole bunch of Ask Dr. Jesse questions, and I have to pick up the pace because I haven't answered any. In case you missed it, this is the one we're getting ready to answer. Hello, old tall one. Just found out my wife's current employer may be opening a new office down in Miami. We currently live on Long Island. My current tech job is in demand anywhere. Would it make sense to move from a red area in a blue state to a presumably blue area in a red state like Florida? Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a complicated answer because I've had this question before, and let me lay this out for you. There are a lot of reasons I tell you to move from your blue state to a red state. One, I tell you that because I don't believe the blue state can be saved. I don't believe New York can be saved. We just saw that again in this election. Yes, Long Island's wonderful. Blood red now. Long Island's always been wonderful. New York State as a whole is blue, and they're not turning back. That's one of the reasons. Another reason I tell you to move from blue to red is we need your help. We need your reinforcements in the red states because the people who email in and say, Jesse, they're just going to come for the red states next. They're 100% right. They will. So we need your help. We need you down here. You don't do me. I say this for selfish reasons. You don't do me any good in New York voting Republican every time when they're going to get Democrats, when I'm down here in Texas and my vote is actually going to move the meter and matter. You're tossing yours away. So it's selfish. That's one of the reasons I tell you to. Another reason I tell you to move from blue to red is the basic quality of life. And all the people who write into me, Jesse, we listened and we moved. Jesse, we listened and we moved. Jesse, we did what you said and we moved. Every single one of them to a man will tell you, because they tell me, greatest thing I've ever done. Chris, have we had one email ever? Jesse, I moved from blue to red and it was a disaster. Jesse, I shouldn't have moved. Jesse, I hated it. Every one of them, universally. Oh my gosh, you weren't lying. It's a better life. It's a better life. Life, everyone says pretty much verbatim, life is better. So I want you to have a better life. But another reason, and this is honestly, it might be the biggest reason I want you to move from blue to red. It's this. I want you to move from Long Island to Florida. I want you to move there because you have never experienced, and to be frank, I have never experienced what it's like to have a federal government completely hostile to you. That is something, now, federal government's always sucked, and government's always some level of corrupt, but we have never in this country had an entire federal government, the entire administrative state, federal judges, everybody, FBI, CIA, everybody, they have all been taken over by communist ideologues who believe you are an enemy of the state. It is not an accident that time after time after time after time, you have been called a threat to democracy, a threat to the republic, a domestic terrorist, a potential domestic terrorist. What's happening at a federal level is the Democratic Party, in conjunction with the administrative state and half of the low-T Republicans, they have all settled on the narrative that the right-wing base guy, you are either an enemy of the state or you're a likely enemy of the state. And what is normally done with enemies of the state? What does the state do to its enemies? The only thing government does well, it hurts people. Bad. I tell you to move not because of the now, although that comes into play. I tell you to move because of what is absolutely coming. What is going to come in this country is going to be a political persecution of people on the right by our own justice system in the federal government like you have never experienced before. I tell you to move from Long Island down to Florida because Florida, the state itself, can give you some level of state protection against the federal government. That's why I tell you to move to Texas and move to Arkansas and move to Montana and move to Idaho and move to Iowa and move to Nebraska. And because the state itself, American states, are still very, very powerful. They have their own attorney generals. I know it's attorneys general, but that sounds stupid, so I call them attorney generals. Anyway, they have their own AGs. They can protect you on some level. Now, they're not so far. They're getting better about that, but you're going to begin to see the red states join together in an effort to realign themselves to protect their citizens against a hostile federal government. I want you to be able to stay in Long Island because I personally love Long Island. The red island in the sea of blue of New York City, right? I want you to be able to stay there amongst family and friends. And there's such a kinship on Long Island because it's the island of misfits. It's all the Republicans and all the Democrats live downtown. I want you to be able to stay there because I enjoy it. I enjoy being in Long Island. Every time I go to New York City, if I can, I go out there just to have a meal, just to hang with people. And in case you're wondering, next time I come visit the great 710 WOR, I am going to try to arrange some sort of a meeting of some kind in Long Island, even if we just have a beer real quick, just to hang. So I love Long Island. Brother, you got to get out. All right? This is your governor.
But I believe there are several things we can agree upon. First, that the size of someone's bank account should not determine whether or not they sit in jail or go home. That was the goal of bail reform. It was a righteous one, and I stand by it.
Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg offers sweetheart plea deal to suspect in brutal anti-Semitic attack. While he was doing it, by the way, the guy has already announced, direct quote, "I would do it again." His name is Wasim Awawade, but I don't know. It's a weird name, stupid name anyway. Awawade, he was part of a gang that attacked a man brutally. During the attack, they called him a dirty Jew and yelled, "Beep, Israel." The word starts with an S, but it's a family show. Also told him Hamas is going to kill all of them. Dumped acid on his face. It's really, like, I'm not going to go into the details of it. It's terrible. But he has already told his jailers he would do it again if he could. He has no regrets. He was facing 7 years in prison. He'll be out in 6 months. Now, I'm not going to use your name because you didn't tell me I could, but I'll just call you Bob. Bob, who wrote me that email. What if 7 months from now, your wife goes into the city? Maybe you're Jewish, maybe you're not, but what if that guy, Wawa, or whatever his name is, what if he sees your wife and maybe he thinks she's a Jew? Violent human being has already announced his intention to do it again. And what if 7-8 months from now, you get a phone call saying your wife had acid poured on her face? She had acid poured on her face because you have communist activists running your government who believe in the destabilization of New York by turning violent criminals loose so they can commit more acts of violence. Miami's real nice this time of year, brother. Pack it up and move out. All right? Pack it up and move. Look, move to the burbs. Every one of these big cities have the burbs. You don't have to live in downtown Miami with all the other coke dealers. You can move out to the burbs somewhere. I mean, unless you want to be around the coke dealers, in which case you'll let your flag fly, buddy.
Support the First TV today and get instant access to exclusive specials like Who is Ron DeSantis, the history of FBI scandals, and America's worst presidents. Visit thefirsttv.com/support or download the First TV app to become a supporter and start watching today.